Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Seeing with 2020 spiritual vision is the theme for the year, and January's focus is getting grounded. Today's topic, the power of thought. New Thought author Emmett Fox wrote, "What you think upon grows. Whatever you allow to occupy your mind, you magnify in your life. Whether the subject of your thought be good or bad, the law works and the condition grows. Any subject you keep out of your mind tends to diminish in your life, because what you do not use atrophies. The more you think of grievances, the more such trials you will continue to receive. The more you think of the good fortune you have had, the more good fortune will come to you." Ernest Holmes put it this way: "Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it." Powerful words. Look up to the screen and speak this truth with me. I am a unique expression of spirit, stepping into life in ever more amazing ways by living in alignment with spiritual principles, choosing thoughts, words, and actions that enable me to live an empowered and positive life. I say yes to all of that.
Yes. And so it is.
There was a minister who was walking down the street with a soap manufacturer. And as they were walking down the street, the soap manufacturer was reflecting and saying, "You know, your teaching of spiritual principles hasn't had much of an effect on the world at all. I mean, look at all of the health issues, the illness, the war, the hatred, the poverty in the world. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's not working." And so the minister reflected on for a while, and then he saw some children who were over in the park playing in some mud all over their clothes and everything. And he said, "Well, it seems to me as if that your production of soap hasn't done a lot of good. It hasn't erased all of the dirt in the world." And so to this, the soap manufacturer first of all said, "Well, you have to use it. The soap is there, but you have to actually use it." And to which the minister replied, "Well, that's the same truth about spiritual principles. They're no good unless you use them." So this entire month, we're going to continue to return back to the basic teachings of science of mind. And I have to say, I appreciate it. I've been doing this since 1990, but I always love going back and reviewing the basic principles and reminding myself of how important it is to apply them, to use them on a continuous basis, not just occasionally, like when I do my spiritual practice, or for some of us just on Sundays, but it's something that it's like the prayer without ceasing concept. It's a continuous awareness of what's going on in our minds and in our actions that will help us to bridge that gap and truly live in alignment. So, ways of living in alignment, ways of using the spiritual principles that we learned. One of the most important ones is what we talked about last week, which is the importance of nurturing a relationship with the inner divine, the Spirit of God within us, whatever you call this presence, the higher self. This presence within us is one with the all that is. We are truly one with the all that is. And our human selves, which function on the five senses and make conclusions about the world based on our five senses, are elevated. We're elevated when we turn within and we merge with that spirit essence, which sees in a broader perspective, sees beyond the appearance and sees in a multidimensional way. So that daily practice of turning within and connecting with that higher self is what is being called for to become what's called the universal human. The universal human, which is that next evolution of humanity that is truly going to transform the world. Not only our own lives personally, but the world, because it all begins in consciousness. So one of the ways to remember that, the importance of that, is the story of the prodigal son. You know, those parables that were told by Jesus, when we look at them metaphysically, what they mean for our inner life, it shines a light on something really powerful for each of us. So think about the story. The story was about a son who had gone wayward and was out on his own, and things fell apart, and he came back to his father's house, and his father did what? He welcomed him with open arms, and not only that, threw a party for him. Basically, celebrated his return. And so the way we can look at that in our own lives is when we turn within to the divine within, the Father, Mother, God, the presence within, our source, the source within, in meditation, or even just touching base throughout the day, listening to our inner guidance. That's what we're doing. We're turning to the divine within, and the divine rushes to meet us with open arms and readiness to provide us with all the guidance that we could possibly need or desire that really supports our lives. So turning to the divine within, nurturing that relationship. And the second one, and this is what my focus is today. So that was kind of a review of last week. The second one is to continuously use the power of thought. To be aware that as divine beings, we are co-creators with the One. Thought is powerful. And this is no secret anymore. It's out there. Athletes use this. Corporate people in corporations use this idea. It is definitely out there. Oprah has helped to spread this word. So the power of thought is well known. But do we really believe it? Are you really practicing it on a regular basis? When we notice, then thoughts do arise. There may be some disempowering thoughts that arise. But the question is do we immediately entertain the negative thought and believe it? Or do we look for a higher thought? Do we look for a way to shift that way of thinking? So harmony actually is our natural state. And so when we entertain disempowering thoughts and ideas, we are out of alignment. It's as simple as that. And so we return to alignment how? By choosing what? Positive thoughts or empowering thoughts, right? So one of the empowering questions, and thoughts can be questions too, one of the empowering questions we can ask ourselves is, does what am I thinking support the life I am trying to create? Does what I am thinking in this moment supporting the life I'm trying to create? We think approximately 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000. A lot of them are kind of like really just under the surface, but we can know what the nature of our thoughts is in any moment by how we're feeling. And so the beauty of meditation is, this is what I have found over time, is that I have a much more heightened awareness of when I am in alignment and when I am out of alignment with my thinking. And so it's a reminder for me to check in and turn things around. So, how do we handle then those thoughts that don't support the life that we want to create? We know that we want to do something about them. And so, I have a story here that I think illustrates it so beautifully. So, there was a psychologist who was teaching stress management, and she wanted to make a point. So, she was holding a glass of water. Oh, I think I'll hold a glass of water. She was holding a glass of water. And she said to her class, "How heavy is this glass of water?" And so the class raised their hands. Oh, it's 8 ounces, it's 4 ounces, it's 16 ounces, whatever they came up with. And she said, "Well, here's the thing." She said, "The weight of this glass really doesn't matter and what's the contents of it. What matters is how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, it's no problem. If I hold it for an hour, my arm starts aching. And if I hold it for a day, my arm is so numb and paralyzed, I can't do anything with it anymore." And that's the way it is with thoughts. If we hold on to a thought for 1 minute, realize that we've gone in the wrong direction and shift it, no problem. If we hold on to a thought or entertain disempowering thoughts for an hour, well, we can feel pretty darn uncomfortable. And if we hold on to thoughts for and disempowering thoughts for a day or longer, what happens? We feel so drained and horrible that we are paralyzed in our lives to move forward. We're stuck in that same drama over and over and over again. And so you might say to yourself, well, you know what? I've tried all kinds of things. I've tried affirmations. I've tried this. I've tried that. And still I find my mind going back to that same drama or that same thought that has not served me for so long. So what I want to offer today is another tool that you can put in your tool chest for shifting thoughts from disempowering to empowering thoughts. And it's the work of Noah St. John. Anybody ever read his book on affirmations? Not affirmations, but affirmations. Jenny, you had your hand up there. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's not. It's a work that has a lot of really good results for people. And so this is basically how it goes: is when we find ourselves caught in an empowering thought. And often, notice, our thoughts are questions. We say, "Why me?" Or "Why am I so?" You fill in the blank. Whenever we get down on ourselves, whenever we're putting ourselves down, why am I so blank? So when we do that, he said it's a good idea, and I've been practicing this, and it's really pretty powerful. It's a good idea to come up with a higher question, an empowering question. So you notice the others make us feel really drained and unhappy, but this type of question allows us to feel empowered. So rather than saying, for instance, "Why do I worry all the time?" you could say, "Why am I so worry-free?" And to contemplate that. And even though it doesn't feel true, the thing is sometimes things don't feel true. When we put it into a question, somehow that gets another part of the mind working for us in a positive way. So some other examples. Why am I so broke? That could be one. And replacing it with, why is it so easy for me to generate income from unexpected sources? Why is it so easy for me to generate income from unexpected sources? That a disempowering thought might be, why can't I sustain a good and loving relationship? And the empowering thought would be, why am I so good at developing loving and good relationships with others? And I could go on and on and on. So, what the author encourages us to do is write down 5 disempowering questions that we ask ourselves that go through our minds, and then come up with 5 alternatives that are the opposite, and to experiment with it and see what helps to really bring the shift about. So, what I'd like you to do now is let's apply it and let's use it right now. Turn to somebody that's next to you, and if there are, like Peggy, maybe you could come up with Connie because she doesn't have a partner. But find somebody next to you that you can share this with. And I'd like you to just choose one disempowering thought that you can think of that tends to go through your mind, and come up with an empowering thought. So you're going to help each other and then come up with something that you can use.
Don't you love that? As I bang into Danielle's music and knock it over.
So I just want to review again that beautiful quote that Linda read. She said, it's by Emmett Fox on the power of thought. He said, what you think upon grows. Whatever you allow to occupy your mind, you magnify in your life. Whether the subject of your thought be good or bad, the law works, the condition grows. Any subject that you keep out of your mind tends to diminish. So, see, when we turn our thoughts around like that, when we change our questions, our focus is in a different way, right? And so that means the other diminishes because it's no longer receiving our attention. But the new question is, and because what you do not use atrophies. The more you think of your grievances, the more such trials you'll continue to receive. The more you think of the good fortune that you have had, the more good fortune will come to you. So I would like to invite our practitioners to surround the room with me, and we're going to offer prayer. And so we're praying knowing the vast shift in consciousness in each and every one of our members as they start using empowering questions, all right? So let's take a breath. Giving thanks for knowing that all there is one life, one source, one power, one presence. And that presence is infinite creative power, the power of love itself. And I know that each one of us is individualized expressions of the one source are empowered. Everybody together say, and so it is. All right.
Yeah.
That's it. Yes. Okay.
That was
So,
awesome.
Thank you. And so we're all up here again.